day 3 of the 47th Tour de Turkey. It's been a hugely entertaining couple of days of racing so far. What a fun fight we had on the road to Bekesnabe yesterday, with Benoit Cosnefroy surviving from a late race breakaway. Some echelon racing, splits all over the place. Cosnefroy, all present and correct, and launching inside the final 700 meters of that grippy final climb. Most of the break overhauled by the chasers behind, including the likes of Fernando Gaviria and Tim Merlier. But it was Benoit Cosnefroy that survives to take his second victory of the season, his first win in his first visit to the Tour de Hongrie, or Tour of Hungary, and could have meant to the 30-year-old 25th victory of his career. Now resplendent in the yellow jersey of overall race leadership. Narrow but significant advantage, I think, over his GC rivals ahead of tomorrow's nailed-on general classification appointment. Ekholm, from the breakaway in the first couple of days, also has benefited to run second in general classification. As we look forward now to this third stage, 152 kilometers in prospect. Will the wind blow to the extent that it did yesterday? Chance of rain out on the road for the riders as they make their way from Kapushvar to Sexage. Just over 1,000 meters of elevation, not particularly grippy. One for the sprinters, perhaps? We said that yesterday, not exactly how it played out. This is our launching pad today, Kapushvar, the southwestern part of Hungary, south of Lake Balaton. It's a legend. The city was founded on 7 hills in Lisbon. Out of Kapushvar today, and we've got 2 categorized climbs to deal with, 3 intermediate sprints as in previous days. We've got a loop around the town to showcase the beauty of the local region and to give local fans something to savor and some memories to have and hold. 3 sprints along the way, as I mentioned. The second and final of our categorized climbs comes some distance from the finish line. Destination point, Sexage today. Rich German heritage. Viticulture, the smallest of the regional capitals in Hungary. 109 riders available for duty following yesterday's travails and difficulties. 2 non-starters, 1 non-finisher yesterday, so we're down to that 100 and relatively compact peloton representing the 19 teams. The early moments indeed of today's stage. A few thunderstorms for the bunch to encounter. A 5-rider breakaway establishing itself quite early on, and Eric Vetter, who's made a bit of a name for himself over the last couple of days, has shown himself to be the sprint talent in this 5-rider move as he's scooped everything in sight so far. The first of the intermediate sprints going his way. Then this was the first climb of the day. Victor Vercouy just trying to outlast the Hungarian and the leading Hungarian rider in that white jersey, but nicely judged, nicely timed by Eric Vetter. He was first to the first sprint of the day, first to the top of the first climb of the day, first of the first sprint of the day as well, and now I can tell you we are approaching the top of the second climb of the day. The main peloton has closed down the advantage of the 5 riders out front. It's been sort of scooped back to a more manageable, that's just 1.25 minutes, isn't it? It was just a little bit less than the 2-minute mark of a maximum lead, so they haven't given them a whole lot. Adam Reves tried to launch early at the most recent intermediate sprint. And then we had the climb. Second and final climb of the day, and Victor Vercouy finally getting his just reward for plenty of effort. Vercouy taking the top points, but it's Eric Vetter, I think, who's going to be leading that competition heading into... Well, yeah, actually, 8 points between them. Between Eric Vetter and Victor Vercouy, 8 points each, and they will share the lead of that mountains competition. So that may well go down to the situation in general classification at the end of the day. Have to have a quick look at the rules and see how they separate riders, level on points. They both have 1 single 3rd category climb that they've claimed, and they both have a 2nd place at a 3rd category climb. So see who they decide they're going to give that that red jersey too at the end of the day. It probably would work out fine, wouldn't it, if it was Vercouy, because Eric Vetter looks like he's in good shape for the Hungarian, that white jersey, because he's claimed quite a few bonus seconds at the road so far. Both of the sprints, with one still remaining today. So 6 bonus seconds gained by Eric Vetter. It has served to shave 6 seconds off the deficit to Benoit Cosnefroid at the start of the day. Cosnefroid leading general classification, Eric Vetter now up to 4th overall in a virtual sense at the road at a remove of just 10 seconds. So plenty of calculations. The old abacus beads are flying here as we work out exactly the implications of that. Will it all matter in any real sense at the end of the day? Yesterday we were getting set for a final big bunch gallop to the finish line, and then, well, all hell broke loose, didn't it, in the final 25 kilometers as the crosswinds across the great Hungarian plain offered great opportunity for those teams that didn't have a standout sprint talent. So the likes of Cofidis hanging on the coattails of them and willing to engage and get involved in that fight, where the UAE team member, its XRG squad, and Cosnefroid had plenty of allies and teammates that were willing to help push that big peloton behind for long enough that they could get into the slightly rampy finish. It's a slightly less demanding, a lot less demanding indeed, finale today. The only exception to that might be the weather conditions. It has been completely dry and quite sunny and very, very pleasant indeed at the finish line in Sexar all day today, until, well, it just feels like it's got very dark. I'm looking out the window at the finish line at the here in Sexar, and I can tell you it's very dark indeed, very dull, very overcast, and the rain forecast, no, at least the forecast for the region, has suggested that around about 4:30 local time, which is just under an hour and a half from now, well, we could have a little bit of rain. It might even happen a little bit earlier than that, a sprinkle perhaps on the finish straight right as I speak. So we hope that the torrents that were visited upon the riders earlier on in today's stage will hold off, and they will actually get a clean run to the finish line, because we don't want to see that, do we? Now here is escorting and gesticulating and looking to encourage. Is it the moto? I think he's looking for a team car, isn't he? Number 11, oldest man in the bike race, perhaps the best known rider indeed in this bike race, Bauke Mollema, heading towards retirement at the end of the season, and has made the trip to Hungary. He's smelling the coffee, I think, at this point in his career, and it's a first ever visit to the Tour de Hongrie. He's honouring the race, honouring his profession, honouring his teammates by going in the break today. Jacopo Mosca, whose teammate, tried a couple of times right at the outset of hostilities earlier on this afternoon. That was closed down, and immediately Bauke Mollema launched clear to try and see what they can do. They don't have standout GC talent. They don't have an obvious sprint option, so the Lidl Trek squad have got up the road in each of the 3 days of racing so far. So the situation overall, just to clarify and quantify it, as we see the familiar figure of Martin Severcek on the front of the peloton for the Soudal Quick-Step squad. Vigard Stack-Galangen is second in line here. Between the two of them, they have done, well, at this point, hundreds of kilometers on the front, just setting the tempo, controlling the breakaway. Plenty of equine ability and power and wattage in evidence today, as every day. We've seen plenty of horses out accompanying and celebrating the riders as they've passed the local fields, and good to see the local costume as well, and the heritage of Hungarian cavalry is remembered and celebrated here in this stage. I'll give you the situation in the overall, but let's just run through the 5 riders up the road. Two-time Hungarian time trial champion Eric Vetter, who was part of that great scrap yesterday, did a really good job, didn't he? He launched solo. The early break was towed back. They contested the final sprint of the day. Then it was an opportunity for him to spring out of the peloton, go solo. Was out solo when the crosswind racing started, scooped up by the attack out of the peloton, and was able to ride there without any apparent difficulty whatsoever. Looked very, very strong. And then when they came to the final kilometre, he was running third up that final ramp to the finish line. Benoit Kuznetsov disappearing ahead of Mike Tønnesen and Eric Vetter. Vetter and Tønnesen were overhauled by the sort of rampaging hordes of sprinters led by Alexis Reynard of Cofidis, with the likes of Fernando Gaviria and Tim Merlier in the top 6 as well, coming from behind. Those riders drop back a bit, but I think it was a signal of just how impressive a rider, and indeed how he's honed his form nicely for his home national tour, that Eric Vetter is in fine fettle. There's an equine turn. And going on the break again today, so that white jersey is a considerable motivation for him. He'd like to take the Mountains title as well, and he's certainly doing a great job for the local Team United Shipping. It's going to win the gallop at the end of today. Will it be a gallop? Well, Royal Oliveira was looking across and quite enjoying this, able to take in the moment. Tell you what, the bike riders look pretty quick here, because those horses look like they're fairly charging along, don't they? Struggling to keep up with a peloton of cyclists at 51 kilometers per hour. Gives you a sense, I think, of just how fast these bike riders are. Now, my money is on the one at the front. The grey looks good. How long is this horse race? I defer to the man with the sword. Inside 60 to go, and the somewhat more diminutive figure of Martin Svercek on the front. He's now got the assistance of UAE team Emirates Mohammed Al Mutaiwe, the UAE national time trial champion. Bakamulova has finally got the team car up. He's got his sunglasses on straight. How relevant are they going to be in the closing? I tell you, the aperture of these this camera is. He wants to send that motorcycle ahead. Just wants to go back for an extended chat, I think. Work out the plan. There's Eduardo Zamparini, another one of our featured riders from yesterday's sort of last 20k bun fight for the Cofidis squad. His reward, actually, to be up front in the late race attacking, just as they crested the rise of the only classified climb of the day, was, of course, to wear that red jersey. He'll hand it over to either Eric Vetter or to Victor Vercouy at the end of today, but nonetheless, Eduardo Zamparini, I think, just giving us a signal of his good form. I wonder how he's going to get up the climb in Pech, slightly more demanding climb they've got to do 4 times, including a ramp up at the finish in tomorrow's penultimate stage, so that's something to behold. But clearly Zamparini's in flying form, so he's enjoying his time. Can I give you all 5 riders in the breakaway? Mollema we've seen back at the Lidl Trek team car. Victor Vercouy is in the yellow, white and blue colours of Team Flanders Baloise. Eric Vetter in that white jersey, best Hungarian rider, has been scooping up points and bonus seconds and mountains points as well. Mollema's back at the front, getting a bit worried, I think, about this 3/4 of a minute gap, and has decided, lads, now this is the tempo. We need to go. We need to rise to ride. And Mollema back in the team car has got the news. Look, they're riding behind. You need to try and do something about hanging on to this. And it's probably not great news for young Adam Revesh in that purple jersey. He's the youngest rider in this move. He's just 18 years of age. Mollema was 21 when he was born. Won't thank me to remind him of all that fact. This is another one of the very well-known riders on the front of this group here. It's Michael Van Turenhout. He's having a party. He's really enjoying it. I think Bauke Mollema, do you know something? I think he wants Moto 1 to go in front of the group and just, just kind of be there, just to film from in front and look behind, and you never know, it might be the angle, the prettiest angle that they might get. You never know what other benefits they might get from that as well. At any rate, Michael Van Turen had just the back of the group. He's got his gilet on, number 141 for the Powell Sozen squad. Yeah, two-time European champion, a world champion at under 23 level in cyclocross as well, multi-World Cup winner. And what a storied career he's had in off-road competition. One of the best-known bike racers in the Low Countries, and in particular in his native Belgium. He uses these, I mean, he doesn't have a particularly extensive palmarès in road racing, but he and his Powell Sozen cyclocross colleagues will use this event as part of their preparation for the cyclocross season, but they've certainly justified the invitation by being involved in so much of the racing in the first few days of racing action. Lots of attacks and early break representation in our first 3 days, and so now it's Van Turenhout, Michael Van Turenhout from Brugge. Bruges, where French is your chosen language. Say it's Brugge for Michael Van Turenhout, Belgian champion in cyclocross as well in 2023. And he and the rest really need to get their skates on. That peloton's not for hanging around now, and I think they're just going to keep the chain tight. We saw that yesterday. There is, of course, one more intermediate sprint, and it's something that Benoit Cosnefroy, he's got the overall race lead. Is he going to risk losing some of those bonus seconds by trying to close it down? Well, he and the UAE Team Emirates XRG squad adopted a policy in the first 2 days of trying to make him available to score bonus seconds as often as possible, and it's proved to be a rich and productive policy in those first couple of days, because he's, well, now 16 seconds to the good, clear of all of his GC rivals. The riders between himself and that 16-second group, quite a few riders indeed are at that what you might call the 16-second margin. I can tell you from 10th place down to 62nd in the bike race, all at 16 seconds. So still a huge number of riders with an eye on GC here. Only a certain number of those have a realistic option of unseating Benoit Cosnefroy. The riders immediately behind him on GC are Christian Ekholm, who profited from his trip to the breakaway a couple of days ago. Tim Merlier, of course, bonus seconds for him at the finish line on day one. And he is unlikely to perform as a GC contender tomorrow. Rule nothing out, but he's all about sprinting, and he'll be all about sprinting today. Severchak up for a chat with Vegard Stackelangen. It's precisely 20 centimeters in height between these two riders. About 8 inches in old money. A little at large. Severchak gets the most benefit, doesn't he? From the aerodynamic toe created by his big Norwegian colleague. They're colleagues right now. Well, I suppose they're always colleagues, aren't they? But they're not rivals right now. And profile shot, I think, gives you super sense of just how challenging, or at least just how impressive the speed is. Weather watch here at the finish line. I can tell you it's still a dry road. Just crossed it holes off because it's very dark and overcast. This is a pity, really, because the weather conditions, I mean, today it's been absolutely fabulous. It's been beautiful weather, just north of 20 degrees Celsius. Not too hot, not too cold, all very pleasant indeed. Just the thunderheads have made their presence felt. Chatting to a couple of the Hungarian facilities people that are involved in creating this beautiful event and putting together the television pictures beamed into your home, but they suggest that, yeah, there's been a clear and obvious change in the nature of Hungarian weather in recent years. It's something that's, I suppose, mirrored throughout the planet, certainly in Europe, but yeah, things are getting just a little bit hotter. Well, no need to hose down the fires today, I think, in this particular weather, but not showcase for the local fire service. Meanwhile, you made a better class of person down the back of the peloton, don't you? Very calm and relaxed, albeit at a decent speed. The pace has been approaching the fast speed. I mean, it's cross tail for most of the day. That would suggest the potential for a bit of echelon racing, but I don't think there's quite the intensity in it that you would expect. Again, I said something similar yesterday, and we did actually end up with that ignition into something spectacular in that final 25 kilometers or so. Rule nothing out, but I just don't feel it. We'll see. We do have a bit of a ramp, I can tell you, with about 22 kilometers to go. Nothing particularly demanding, but it's about 1.5 kilometers at 4%. Might prove a launching pad for a speculative move. Stakalangen, Severcek and Almut Highway, between them have continued to tap along and tap out a rhythm that has, I suppose, allowed the five up front to extend their advantage. Maybe we should give due credit to them in actual fact. Clearly that little bit of extra impetus from Bauke Mollema has created the extra advantage for these riders, so they've added another 10 or 15 seconds to their lead, which is going to make it a little bit more likely that they make it to the final sprint of the day. That comes with 24.8 kilometers to go. I suppose it's time to pay due credit and reference to that nice piece of land art. Great to see the local communities buying into this one. We're heading to a local town and a region. We're in a region that hasn't actually played host to the Tour of Hungary all that often. This is just the second time in its history that's going to race into Sexard. Indeed, the last time that Sexard played host to the Tour of Hungary was back in 1993 when Mikhail Horny took the win in 1993, and Rolf Eberl won the only previous finish at the town of Sexard all the way back in 1962. Local citizens very much looking forward to the clear novelty of the arrival of this important and storied event. Huge sense of national pride around it. Everybody knows that the Tour of Hungary is on this week. Part of the sporting fabric, and definitely a reason for a bit of oompa. Into the final 50 kilometers of this third stage, and we're over the halfway point in the 5 days of the Tour of Hungary. Mollema with that busy and workmanlike and so familiar style, and it's I mean, the idea that it'll be absent from the peloton at the end of this season is kind of a bittersweet moment. He must be enjoying these days. He'll certainly be enjoying this head out today. And from Groningen on Il Lombardia back in 2019, was that his day of days? 2-stage victories in the Tour de France as well. I suppose for the casual viewer of cycling, those are the wins that will sustain him in his to his dotage, aren't they? Those are the wins that he will perhaps be best known for amongst aficionados and supporters in greater detail of the sport. A win in one of the monuments of such as Il Lombardia, the race of the falling leaves in autumn in Italy. That's going to be a huge memory for him. Won the Donostia Classico as well, or San Sebastian Classic in northern Spain. Cafe Laguelia, a couple of Japan Cups. Overall win of the Vuelta a San Juan Internacional. National time trial title a few years ago as well. What a great career for Bauke Mollema. Can he win a stage of the Tour of Hungary, which would be A neat way to get his create a winning campaign for him. No win so far this year, not entirely unsurprisingly. There's plenty of racing in his legs at this point. 25 days of UCI racing, and Martin Severcek has plenty of racing in his legs this week. Certainly lots of intensity, lots of stress, lots of decent TSS, I think, in his files that are being downloaded by his coach back at base. There'll be a sense of satisfaction about the scale of the work, and fundamentally he's doing a job for his team, isn't he? And he's only recently arrived on the front of the peloton. He was sort of spent all day the first couple of days on the front. Well, Tim Merlier, I think, will have been grateful for the fact that the UAE Team Emirates XRG squad, if he couldn't win yesterday, at least it's another team have the responsibility of setting the tempo. UAE Team Emirates XRG gratefully accepting that responsibility. They got Stakalanga. Thrilled to set the agenda of making sure that they keep this group on a short race. Three of these riders in here. Well, actually, the virtual leader on the road is the man in the white jersey. And yeah, as we look at the sky, a little bit overcast, plenty of clouds up there. Little bits of mist on the lens. Our following motor. Adam Reves is the rider in that burgundy jersey of Campana, the local Campana team. It's an Italian team, by the way, Campana. Just thought I'd better check that. Plenty of Italian representation in their roster, but a couple of Hungarians who are really enjoying the trip home. Boldajar Zsemberi as well is part of the lineup this week, as indeed is, as you can see, Adam Reves, and it's the oldest rider in the team's 21 years of age. They've got two 18-year-olds, a couple of 19-year-olds. There are 13 teenagers in this year's Tour de Hongrie, one up the road. Quite the youngest rider in the race. Mark Varga has that honour. Clearly, there's been a bit of rain here of late. Indeed, there's a sprinkling of rain out there just to keep these riders reminded of the potential hazards that could well await at the end of the day. I think really they'll have enjoyed the fact that they're up the road. They're expending energy for sure, and that will cost them towards the back end of the day, but at least they're staying warm, staying out of trouble. Been a clean run for breakaway and peloton so far today. The same prevails. And I can tell you the hoods are going up and the brollies are starting to appear at the finish line. The rain is falling with just a little more intensity. The finish straight is still offering plenty of grip. It's not going to last for long. I think we're going to have a pretty wet road. Oh, it's kind of getting my sinking feeling about that. It's a super finale, by the way. The run into the final kilometre is it's a pretty straight road, apart from a 90-degree left-hander with 500 metres to go. That's going to be a major appointment. They'll all have been looking at that in the road book. It's going to have formed a central pillar, I suspect, of the plans and the pre-stage conversations in all of the team buses. How do we get control, maintain control, and make sure that our sprinter is in exactly the right position into that final 500 metres. I suppose the ideal is that you have one or maybe two riders in front of you through that final 500 metres. You don't want to be lower than about 7th or 8th. You certainly don't necessarily want to be on the front coming through that turn with 500 metres to go either. It's a delicate balancing act, made all the more delicate by the fact that the way things are looking, could well be a damp left-hander with 500 metres to go. No time to be thinking about that for these riders. They need to try and hang on to what they've got. Little ramp up, offering an opportunity for distribution of bidons. The Belgian representatives in here, Victor Vercouy from Team Baloise Flanders on the right-hand side of the picture, Michael van Turenhout, his colleague, fellow countryman. Taking a moment. Vercouy, of course, from the Team Flanders Baloise squad. It's a bit of a breakaway specialist, isn't he? Kind of famous at this point for his breakaway exploits, particularly on home roads in the classics, the spring classics on the cobbled roads of Flanders, particularly Tour of Flanders. Last couple of years, he's been up the road in Ronde van Vlaanderen. What a huge moment for any Belgian rider. Vercouy, strong emerging talent, who's come up with a couple of decent results. Look in the distance. I think what you can see there is fundamentally rain. If you look the left-hand side of the screen, all of that grey that comes from the sky down to the trees, that's rain. Yeah, lots and lots of it. No. Well, they're not getting wet, so all is good. Has that roof been tested for structural integrity? It's being tested right now. Check. Cruises through the feed zone. Everyone has a platform for expression in Tour de Hongrie. Riders down the back, finding a way to get on camera. Louis Roulin from Team Cofidis there. And Marton Solomossi from the Hungarian national squad. Most experienced rider by miles, actually, in that. He's 36 years of age. He's pretty much double the age of most of the team, indeed. 18, 19 and 20-year-olds, apart from Marton Solomossi there to give the younger riders the benefit of his experience. Starko Langen, 37 years of age now. He's been a pro at World Tour level, originally turned pro with the EAM cycling squad, and then transferred to UAE Team Emirates in 2017. Actually, he did a couple of years with the Bretagne Session Vermont squad at Pro Continental level, then dropped back to Continental level. So he's kind of signed his first pro contract at Division 2 level in 2012. So fair to say, he's had a decent run. Currently, to the best of my knowledge, doesn't have a contract for next season, but I'll tell you what, he is worth his weight in gold, and he's a very slim man, certainly slightly heavier than some of the other riders in here. So, yeah, a valuable asset, that's for sure, to the UAE Team Emirates XRG squad this week. Certainly willing to throw it all out there. Lay down the watts. Slate grey skies. I have no doubt that Adam Rivest, 18 years of age, he knows exactly, for all that his lack of experience, what awaits these riders, and he also knows that they need to keep turning these pedals as a combination, as a quintet, still able to make those contributions. Only miss a turn or two, and you wouldn't, you'd forgive him, wouldn't you, if he doesn't have the legs for it. No, he is riding through, so yeah. And he will continue to ride through all the way, as long as he can. Down to 40 to go. Inside an hour of racing at this point. Laboured style of Bauke Mollema. Don't let the round back and the rocking shoulders deceive you. He's made of granite. He's got so many kilometres built into that engine. He can grind along at this speed and this pace all day and all night, and the surprising amount of snap as well. I think of him as a diesel. He can get in amongst the most explosive riders, and has done in his career, produce an extraordinary list and array of superb results. The main peloton now starting to make plans. See that quick step in line astern. And there is Tim Merlier, jackets on, so as you can understand, they'll start to come off now. Jaco Alula's squad, clear agenda so far this week to keep their riders out of trouble as best they could. It's paying dividends, working out so far. Still got Paul Double and Luke Plapp to look after. For Benoit Cosnefroid, his yellow jersey as well, not very much in evidence just right now. Will make an appearance close to the end as... Oh, there we go, he's just underneath the gilet, but yeah, the yellow sleeves, not tough to pick out. Oh, rider's down, it's from the break. Would you believe it? It's a young 18-year-old. Yeah, that, what happened there? Adam Rivette. Let's get a look at this one. Just front wheel washes out. And that's hard to... And I suspect that might have been a mixture of gravel and wet roads, because that really caught him out there. He wasn't on the pedals. He just leaned over semi-quaver too much. What are the tyre pressures like? That's a shock to the system, isn't it? A little bit of road rash accumulated on hip and elbow. No lingering after effects of that one, but a bit scuff-marked. One wonders, is he going to be able to find it easy to make his way back to the break? What sort of legs does he have at 18 years of age, having been up front at this point well over 100 kilometres? 152 kilometres stage, by the way. It took about 5, 6, 7 kilometres maybe to make their way out front. So they've got well over 100 kilometres at this point out front in this race. We've had to turn the light on in our commentary position here at the finish line. It's that dark and overcast. There's virtually no illumination, nothing like the same level of illumination being conveyed to us from the wind, from outside through the window. So it's yeah, it gives you a sense of just how dark and overcast. Yeah, Rivette will have been hugely miffed, I suspect, by that little one. Quickly up and back in, down to 4. These won't be for waiting. Down to 4 up front, and I'm not so sure that Rivette's going to find it too easy to make his way back to a group of 4 riders. Don't rule it out, though. He will lay it all out for the next kilometre or so just to see, but if he doesn't get back in the sort of 2 or 3K, I think he's still going to make it. 37 to go. And we have got a little bit of a lift coming up very shortly. A little bit of a ramp on the profile. 1 or 2 places of worship as well to consider. Yeah, we've got a kilometre at 4.4%. It's a bit of a drag in every sense. Not one I think that's going to trouble the big sprinters in there. Not in terms of staying connected to that peloton, but you never know, there might be just a few joules of energy just dispensed with that they could usefully employ in that final finishing kick. No risk strategy from Severchek on the front of that peloton. It's not knowing exactly what the grip levels are, of course, as they're going through these towns and villages, encountering different levels of grip, the precipitation, what effect has it had? There's a little bit of a sheen on the road there, which clearly is evidence of the recent showers. Just got to judge it. Severchek just had to make a little bit of an adjustment there as he made his way through that left-hander and found out that he needed to make his way through a roundabout that he probably didn't know about. Neatly done. Now they're kind of holding steady at 3/4 of a minute here. Make our way past the Ermel of Voynitz Mausoleum. Early years of the 20th century. And Rivest has been retained. Of course, it was a narrow advantage, wasn't it? He sort of hits the deck, loses 20, 30 seconds just like that, and he's not getting back to that group, so we're down to 4, that's confirmed. Rivest scooped up by the main peloton. Nonetheless, congratulations to him, and I hope that he can hang on in that main peloton and perhaps support his teammates from the Campana squad. Lorenzo De Longhi, by the way, is probably their go-to option today, the Italian rider, 8th across the line on day 1. Will have designs on Glory, going to put himself into the mix along with the World Tour pros. Our focus is on the it's on Tim Merlier. It's all about Tim Merlier, isn't it? The standout superstar of world sprinting. Fernando Gaviria managing to get the best of them of him on that ramp to the finish line yesterday. It was a sprinter's climb, wasn't it, at the finish? Albeit frustratingly for the riders in the main peloton, they found themselves not quite overhauling the last of the riders from that late attack. So it was, but nonetheless, Gaviria, I think, will have been encouraged by that fact. Will give him some hope. Both of those riders, Fernando Gaviria and Tim Merlier, 7 Grand Tour victories in their career, but Merlier has been clearly the more successful of the two in recent seasons. Despite the fact he's a bit older, isn't he? He's 33 against 31 for Fernando Gaviria. Michael Van Turenhout, also 33 years of age. Paul Sausenman coming low over the bars. Victor Verkuik, it's a nice shape on a bike, doesn't he? He manages to get pretty low. I suspect wet roads all the way to the finish here. There are fans at the finish line awaiting the arrival of the riders with brollies up, and everyone's smiling, enjoying the atmosphere despite the rain. Terrific vibe around this race, I have to say. Wouldn't wish it on him, but poor Adam Rivest has been scooped up by the bunch, but I'm not sure how much of a contribution he was making. He's still riding through, I suppose, so even if he wasn't really pressing on the pedal as much as he was scrolling through, he was at least providing a little bit of extra shelter, a little bit of extra recovery for the other riders, so down to 4. So, yeah, not much shelter in that nest, is there, for Mrs. Stork, or was it Mr. Stork? Storks abound. It was his and hers nests. Still Stacca Langen, but there's a different shape to this, isn't there? 32.8 to go. Making plans for that little bit of a climb, I think. Just everybody wants to make sure they're in position. First time we've seen the Bahrain victorious riders climb, as I mentioned. We're up and over the last little drag. Barely noticed it. There is, though, the small matter of one that comes with 21 kilometers remaining. Just a kilometer at 5%. Another one, not that dissimilar to the one they've just been up that we hardly noticed, but they felt it. And I think from Vegard Stakalangen's point of view, it's been a hard toil in pursuit of the 5-rider, now 4-rider breakaway group. Nonetheless, at least he's had the advantage of not having to ride along the wake of others. Absolutely torrential. This is just a matter of a half a minute up the road. What is it? I mean, it's only about 3/4 of a kilometre, if that. A bunch about to encounter these little isolated local torrents, these showers. A bit horrible, but they are riding hard, and once you're riding uphill, the riders will be able to stay quite warm. It's not particularly cold. Standing around. If you're going down a mountain, well, you probably need jackets on, but it's probably all right for these riders at the moment. As Bauke Moller tries to clear the steam from his sunglasses by just turning his head to the side and moving the glasses off his nose, run a little bit of air across the inside of those lenses. All sorts of potions and concoctions and old wives' tales and various different solutions, both in metaphorical and other more practical and actual senses, to ensure that you don't end up with steamy sunglasses, and yet somehow it always seems to happen. And rub some of that proprietary brand Rain-X on them. Great for the front of the glasses, of course, beads the water off. On the inside of the lens, there's all sorts of solutions as well. Create a film. Some used to say rub a bit of potato. Others some washing liquid and smear it on the glass. Create a little bit of a film that would prevent that steaming up. Different ways you can do it. At any rate, hasn't prevented or impeded Bauke Mollema's progress. It doesn't seem to be any significant irritant. It's always, for some, it's a source of fascination and wonder that riders continue to wear sunglasses despite the fact that the skies are grey and it's raining. But, well, indeed, all 4 of these riders keeping their sunnies on. And they probably would like a clear lens right now, but there's no time to change them. Most of the bunch as well with the sunglasses. Why? Because, well, you keep the dirt and the grit and the spray, particularly when it's kicked up by the wheels of the other riders around you. Very easy to pick up a little bit of conjunctivitis and to get a little bit of grit and dirt in your eyes. These riders grinding away, I think getting anxious. Vercouy knows all about being in a long race day breakaway. He also knows about getting caught. The inevitability, inside 30 to go. We're going to have the early break caught early once again. And the answer is yes, I think. The question is, will they make it to the 3rd and final sprint of the day? Will our man Eric Vetter, who's claimed the first 2 sprints of the day and the 3 bonus seconds that go with it, scoop another 3 bonus seconds? And that would mean that he would be within 7 seconds of the overall race lead going to that final sprint. Of course, 10, 6 and 4 available for the riders in the final gallop to the line. For Vetter, I think we would certainly put him in a strong position in that Hungarian rider's jersey, and would put him well into the top 10 in the overall general classification, heading to tomorrow's penultimate stage. So it's always a bit of honour in that, isn't it? Being able to show everyone GC, and looks good to be thereabouts. So certainly for Vetter, second in line here, the rider in that white jersey, he's got plenty of motivation, as if the others didn't, to last for another 4K, 4 kilometers now to that sprint. After which we have that little ramp up, which will take us, we'll plunge down from there with precisely 20 kilometers to go. Quickly hit what's almost sea level, and although we're a long way from the sea here, but you know, you get what I mean. And then that will take them through to the finish line. Victor Vercouy, breakaway superstar for the Team Flanders Baloise squad. 6th in the GP Montserrat. These riders looking around themselves as much as looking forwards right now. Peloton almost in the one shot, almost on them. That's been the feature as well of the first couple of days of racing action, isn't it? How many really straight roads? They built a straight road in Hungary, that's for sure. Various empires that have controlled this region over the centuries. Plenty of evidence indeed of the Roman presence in our finishing town of Sexart. Viticulture is a huge, an important part of the agricultural produce of the region. Red apparently do very nice red wine. But yeah, they discovered some ancient vines in a sarcophagus, uncovered, a Roman sarcophagus uncovered in relatively recent times. Oh, it's not for waiting. Tiptoe down around that left-hander. Vercouy. As I mentioned, he's still waiting for a breakthrough professional career victory. 6th in GP Jean-Pierre Mosseret on home roads last year, 4th in GC of the Flanders Tomorrow Tour for developing riders in 2023, and has King of the Mountains titles in Étoile de Bessèges and the Tour of Britain from last season. So the breakaway prize has gone his way. Potentially King of the Mountains contender here as well. 4 tough hills to get up tomorrow, so more rich pickings indeed for the breakaway riders. A few rich pickings there as well. Probably not the day to be collecting the vine, or even the grapes from the vine. There's an intensity. I mean, he rides a bigger gear, doesn't he? And it just feels like he, you know, when you're looking at it, that when he hits the front, powers along the slightly longer turns, drives them into line astern. Vetter at the back just has to make a slightly bigger effort. And that engine of Bauke Mollema, honed over so many years, well, he's only getting going. He could do another couple of hours at this, you feel? Definitely a day for fishing. There's quite a few people at the finish line, I think, who'd be delighted if they had a sou'wester on, wading boots. So representation of the front, Severcek still doing the needful. No jacket for him. No jacket required either for Vigard Stake Langen. On the left-hand side of your picture, it's the riders from Team Jayco Alula to protect their GC contenders and ensure that they can bring their rider through. Oh, and riders at the back, touch of wheels, ouch, and that is a difficult moment for Christian Piffer from the Campana squad. Could well have been Andres Voch from Team Hungary as well, but a couple of those riders implicated by that one as we head towards the third and final intermediate sprint of the day. And Vercouy is going to get this one because Vetter is out of breakfast, I think. He's had a couple of really tough days. Probably going to claim the 2 here, but or is he? Because Bauke Mollema doesn't want to let Vercouy. He knows what he's like. He knows the kind of guy that he is, that this might be just a springboard to something a little bit more. Vercouy takes the bonus second. Vetter is not going to score here at this one. It's Van Turen now, 3rd across the line. And it's Victor Vercouy who is going to, I suspect, use this as a springboard to something a little bit like last man standing. Well, Bauke Mollema's having none of that, so super experienced Dutchman chasing his Belgian rival, and the rivals now, Michael Van Turenhout scoring there, and fair to say that Vetter looks a little bit fatigued at this point. He's going to have to make do with 6 seconds gain. Still a pretty productive visit to the breakaway today for Eric Vetter. When you have the legs for the break tomorrow, one wonders. Well, there's some interesting geometry on that frame. a couple of frames. I like the way they set out all the clothing to put a bike rider onto that other smaller one just to the left. A lot of creativity went into it. So glasses off as the four become one again. Well, he's not for ditching them. But clearly they're more of a hindrance than a help at this point. So Vercouy, potentially he's got a red jersey to collect. Still got to find out exactly how they're going to split them, because those two riders level on points. Showing Vetter ahead of Vercouy. I'm not sure whether that's just because his number is ahead. No, Vercoui's number is ahead of is 116 ahead of 153 for Vetter on the official results that we've got at the moment. Let's see what the plan is at the end of the day as we take in more distinctive local architecture, and those familiar, very distinctively Central European, Hungarian spires. Still no need for further reinforcements. That 26 seconds, very claimable. Now we're looking forward to that little 1 kilometre, at least some are, some maybe not, a little 1 kilometre drag up, which is going to potentially prove to be a bridge too far for this group. Could be a springboard for a little bit of late race attacking from behind. Are we going to have the usual ordered format and pattern? What we might have deemed a typical sprinter stage. To be decided, but we've pretty much arrived at the point where the road will start to rise. Having said that, maybe another kilometre down to a little bit of a ramp up. Back at the peloton, showing bit of representation from the Campana squad. That's Roberto Busanello. It's GC, by the way, GC time that will separate the riders for the Mountains jersey. And I suspect that Vetter is going to be, assuming that he hangs on in the bunch at the end, given the various bonus seconds that he's claimed, is going to be ahead of Vercouy. So Vercouy, irritatingly for him, I think they probably give the Mountains jersey to Vetter, even though he's still worried to still lead the Hungarian riders classification. That will go to another Hungarian rider, and so Vercouy wouldn't have a jersey to wear tomorrow, despite the fact that he'll be level on points. Probably the most the nicest way to do it would probably be to give Vetter the Hungarian jersey to wear tomorrow. Give the Mountains jersey to Vercouy, but that wouldn't necessarily be gelling and chiming with the way that the rules are designed to. Well, it's a little consequence in the grand scheme of things, and indeed it's not nailed on certain that we will have those two riders as part of the main peloton going all the way to the finish line. Still plenty of opportunity for drama, intrigue, and shift in fortunes in these final half hour of racing. Oops, off the road and back on. Mollema hits the bottom of this rise, and this is the springboard for separation in the peloton. And Mollema decides to dispense with the rest. Himself and Vercouy, clearly the strongest riders in this group. Van Turenhout watches on forlornly, I think. Vetter, as we probably would have expected, he's out of breakfast, and Vetter's heading back to the peloton. Vetter will be lucky to get over this climb and still part of the main peloton, but he kind of needs to. He's going to wear that red jersey tomorrow, but maybe, indeed, if he's going to wear the white jersey, he probably needs to as well. So crisis moment potentially for Vetter as we watch Mollema and Vercouy start to press on. No man's land for Van Turenhout, so he's got a difficult moment, but Mollema is not forgiving this one up just yet. Great to see the fighting spirit and the fighting qualities. Vetter just trying to spin the wheels just for a moment, just try and recover, see if he can put together 300 or 400 meters just to get him over this the rump of this hill, and if he does, I think he's home with the peloton. Just a slightly difficult moment. He's an experienced rider though, and an intelligent rider. He's ridden very smartly, hasn't he, over the last couple of days, known exactly where to be and how to perform. Meanwhile, Vercouy has managed to settle into the slipstream of one of the best-known classics riders of his generation. He'll be enjoying this experience. Still a bit to make it up and over this one. What's the composition of the main peloton? Well, Van Turenhout is about to be retained. The main peloton still has Severcek. Severcek arrived a little bit later today, so I won't say he's has had an easy day of it, but his legs relatively rested by comparison with the previous couple of days. Other teams crowding around. Jacob Alula's squad, Bahrain victorious. I'm starting to see Q36.5. Great job done by them yesterday, by the way. Let me give a shout out to Walter Canzoni and Marcel Camprubi, because they were stunning. They've got a couple of good sprint options as well. Niccolo Patasini, 2 top 10s from the first 2 days of racing action. Caravans arrived in, I can tell you. They've got a Tour de France style publicity caravan, slightly smaller, but no less colourful, and has arrived at the finish line at 20 minutes, half an hour before the riders each day. No time for prayers at the Marsh Chapel. Very pretty. Vercouy has something to give here. And we are over the top, heading. It'll plunge down to about 17.8 to go, at which point it's a flat road to the finish. They're just dangling out there. Other teams starting to crowd around Severcek and on the tieway. Stakalangen has gone back to rest up, to do something similar again tomorrow, or maybe even contribute today. Will he have the legs for that? Other teams want to be close to the front. Mollema has left Vercouy to his devices, and Vercouy did look particularly committed on some of those wet bends earlier on today, didn't he? And clearly Bauke Mollema knows exactly how to tap out a solid rhythm without taking any undue risks, especially as they're clearly coming back. But yeah, youthful exuberance versus an experienced old campaigner. Clearly in evidence there. Those solar panels aren't contributing much just yet. No doubt they do in a general sense, but today is going to produce a demanding finale. Team starting to appear towards the front. MBH Bank CSB Telecom Fort to give its full title. Now will Mollema, on a long straight flat road as it is pretty much to the finish line from here. We do kind of route our way around the town. The wind will be sort of hitting them from different directions, but I'm not sure the wind has been had a huge role today. It could well be that Mollema, just a little bit bigger and stronger in the grand sense, will be able to cruise back up onto the tail of Vercouy. Meanwhile, they're setting up for the finale here. Everybody trying to just tiptoe their way back into and put the peloton back together again. It has split up a little bit on that descent. It was treacherous. I think everyone aware of just how glass-like those roads are, and just as fast as they dare. We're in around other riders in the peloton as well, taking different lines and different responses to that situation. Plenty of opportunity for little splits in there, but now they're putting manners on this once again, and it's Severcek back to the front. On behalf of Tim Merlier, that green jersey, leader of the points competition, He's going to be under a jacket today, but I've no doubt it'll come off between now and the finish line because he wants to be as aerodynamic as possible into that final kilometre. Where is he? And where are they all? Well, I can tell you, if Severchik's on the front here right now, you can rest assured Tim Merlier is safely in. Reinforcements moving up. Tidal Quick-Step trying to place further riders closer to the front. Overall race leader, tough to pick out, but yeah, yellow sleeves you can see in the black jacket for Benoit Cosnefroy, just to the left of your shot at the moment. He's about to go out of shot. White clad rider from Powell Sozin just beside him. Mollema, I think, is going to get back to Vercouy just in time for the peloton to get to the two of them. Great one-on-one battle. I mean, it's... I'd say the point is moot and it is academic, but Mollema has his pride, has his strength, has his endurance. Contrast in style, isn't it? Much lower cadence, much bigger gear for Mollema. Vercouy is aware of two things. Mollema hasn't given up, neither has the peloton. So now the Jaco Alula squad, jackets off, jackets on for pretty much everyone. No sign of that green jersey. Is Merlier going to go sprinting with a jacket on? It's not a huge peloton. Roads tend to be quite open. Oh, a few splits there, and a few of the local riders among those that have been detached and delayed. That won't suit Samuel Boardman either. He was on the attack earlier on. The Modern Adventure Pro Cycling rider finds himself in this group off the back slightly. And I think Otto Vergarde for the... Oh, and Mollema's cracked, so Vercouy again, he's going to win the last man standing award. Inside 15 to go. Bauke Mollema cedes the mantle of strongest rider in the breakaway. If there was a most combative award, clearly I think it would go to Victor Vercouy today. There isn't, though. Maybe we should have a whip round. Let's have a look on the front of the peloton. Jaco Alula is starting to just appear up towards the front. And trying to pick out a green jersey. Not much in evidence, is it, for those Soudal Quick-Step riders? Bauke Mollema just overhauled by the main peloton. Sinks like a stone. He'll just find a spot at the back and cruise in. That's our featured rider now, Eric Fetter, I can tell you, did make it over that drag, did make it down the other side. He's in that bunch, and Victor Vercouy is not quite going to make it to the final 10k in the front of the peloton unless they do a major stall all of a sudden. A chapeau, congratulations to all 5 riders in that group. As we see, Eric Fetter just started to move up actually on the left-hand side of shot, just place himself in front of his teammates. Wants to, I think, maintain a position of maximum safety through to the conclusion of the day. $3K rule, as far as I understand, for the for each of these stages. No mention in the regulations of a 5K rule. But actually 5K rule for stages 1 and 5. This is stage 3, so it's 3K rule. So basically for the GC contenders, want to make it to 3 kilometers to go as part of this group and safely in that, and they'll get the time of that group they're in, regardless of what might happen. Well, those riders are not going to be so advantaged, so they need to try and reconnect the riders in there. I suspect maybe given the level of intensity about that group and the commitment and the eagerness to make it back to the front of the race, that could well be 1 or 2 GC contenders that are inconvenienced now. Still plenty of jackets on in the Jaco Alula squad, commanding the front of the peloton, protecting Paul Double, and indeed, of course, Luke Plapp. Cool, calm and collected. NSN squad starting to appear as well. Chris Nylands, Ingemar Einhorn, probably the riders there looking after him. Indeed, Nylands is easy to pick out, isn't he? He's got jacket off, just rubbing shoulders with Luke Durbridge momentarily. Luke Plapp at the back of the line here for the Jaco Alula squad. Not sure where the rest of their lineup is right now. Lear, in evidence, has picked up Bert van Lerberge. He's got, I mean, the rain jackets are terrific these days, aren't they? So despite the fact that we can't pick out that green jersey at leading points competition, his rain jacket is just about as skin tight as you can get, and it's not as un-aerodynamic as in days of yore. There are one or two rain jackets on the front of the peloton at the moment that are definitely not maximum aerodynamic efficiency. I think from Merlier, he might be tempted to sprint in that jacket. We'll see how it plays out. At any rate, it's the Soudal Quick-Step squad that are starting to put numbers up towards the front, but it's Jaco Alula that have control. Screech of the brakes. That's what the rain does to those disc brakes, isn't it? It just makes them noisy and makes everyone a little bit more uncomfortable than they already are by the lack of grip. Of course, the brakes are super efficient in the rain, aren't they? So it's not a bad trade-off. Extra screech, extra stopping power. All entirely limited, of course, by the grip on the tyres, but at least you're not waiting for the brakes to start to generate the friction to retard the progress of the bike. At any rate, we've arrived down to just a bit 10.5 kilometres remaining of this third stage of the Tour of Hungary, and through Oseczny, like a flash, thunder flash, lightning flash. Thankfully that's held off. This third stage will be followed, of course, by our penultimate stage, which is the almost now familiar destination of Pécs. We didn't have it last year's Tour of Hungary. We've had it in several years recently, 4 times up, 4th time. We'll be paying the big money. And indeed, they go up to the top and a little bit extra in tomorrow's 188 stage. Penultimate thrash. Finish up in around Lake Balaton on stage 5 to Veszprém. 147 kilometers in total. That's a grippy one as well. 1,860 meters of elevation across 147 kilometers. Should be one for the sprinters. We'll see how that plays out, but we'll refocus our attention now on this battle for the third stage. Inside 10 to go. Jaco Alula happy to command the front of the peloton and set the agenda, and that'll be gratefully received by the sprinters teams. Bahrain Victoria starting to make their appearance up front as well. They've got Phil Bauhaus with a 3rd place finish on day 1. And looking to improve upon that. Nicky Asarnt, of course, crashed on day 1. He's still part of their lineup and a useful and the vital lead-out man. Jakob Omerzal and Attila Walter, the local hero, last Hungarian winner of this race back in 2020. Part of that peloton trying to stay as safe as possible through to that 3K to go point. So Benoit Koznefol with those yellow sleeves. He's got a black rain jacket or a black gilet over his yellow jersey. And just being given a little bit of extra space in the peloton. That's the honour that is decreed upon the overall race leader. Centre of shot. Yellow sleeves for the UAE team member at XRG man. Just staying as close to the front as possible, staying out of trouble. Luke Plapp at the back of this lineup. Luke Durbridge just in front. Kellen O'Brien is the one, the tall Australian rider, setting the agenda. Big power. Is certainly gratefully received as we see Jakob Moska move up for the Lidl Trek squad. Yves Lampart, it looks as if is trying to make his way towards the front as well for the Soudal Quick-Step squad. All up for these guys, I think. Not going to be able to showcase their abilities. Sergio Samitier. Surprising to see him back there. He's been on flying form of late. Maybe just caught out on that descent, I think, as much as anything else. Wrong side of the split. Someone lets the wheel go, several riders in front of you, nothing you can do about it. Looking a little bit grubby. Here's Fernando Gaviria, the right-hand side of shot, with white jersey with the green sleeves, the Caja mount, sprinting well yesterday. Freelancing here a little bit, not too much in the way of other Caja riders, but well, he knows how to do that one. And he's maintaining a position of minimum risk. A couple of crosswinds there, making this particularly challenging. There's Acomb, second overall, starting the day, number 16, the Lidl Trek rider. He is slipping out of that second position, not an anticipated overall contender, but he's been flying in the first 2 days, so he'll be frustrated with this. As the way things are going, I'm not sure he's going to be able to make it back. Vergarda, or is that actually Bauke Mollema is off the back here after his breakaway exploits, needs a little bit of help from someone else in order to rejoin that peloton. Mollema, I think, just for pride is, or maybe he's popping back to collect Acomb. It could be the case. Indeed, Vegard Stacker Langen, after all his efforts as well, finds himself detached a couple of bike lengths away from the back of the peloton. Gives you a sense of just how impressive the effort has been from Kelland O'Brien. Take you through some of the sprinters we've got going for glory today. Watch out for the XDS Astana team, and they've got Max Canter. There's a sky blue Astana jersey underneath a rain jacket somewhere thereabouts. 5th and 3rd in the first 2 days of racing action. Not a bad shout if anyone's to beat Tim Merlier today. Phil Bauhaus, we've mentioned, for the Bahrain Victoria squad, 3rd on day 1. Tim Merlier, 1st and 6th place finishes, leads the points classification. 3 race wins from 5 days of racing action so far. Well, 6 days now, isn't it, of racing action? Still 50% return, not bad. Fernando Gaviria, we've mentioned. Nicolo Patasini from the Pinarello Q36.5 Pro Cycling team. They were keeping their GC guys up there and nicely protected, primed for glory. Davido Persigo from the MBH Bank squad, on some good form of late. A bit of strata stuff in the first couple of days, and it's pretty much a headwind, isn't it? And that's a grind for Kelland O'Brien. Spears off the front, and moment on the front here now, I think, for Turbo Derba, Luke Dubridge, to set the agenda. Kuznov was happy enough to sit out in the rain a little bit with those sort of yellow sleeves and black jacket. The overall race leader can use a joule of energy, and just a little word of thanks to Kelland O'Brien for the little beam. I think that was sort of a little bit of wind and a little bit of the riders in front of him, if you're in, and Vegard Stacker Langen's back in, so it should be okay at this point. Vegard there. UAE thinking, well, you know, just cool the jets here a little bit. No need to get too excited. Different agendas, really. The UAEs do, of course, have Molano, their sprinter, on some good form, but their maximum agenda, total focus, I think, is on protecting Benoit Cosnefroid. 99% of it, Molano will have the space and time to do his own thing. Team Flanders Balois start to appear on the right-hand side. We've got Nolan Heisman's still looking for a decent result. Though they did get Elias Maris. Maris, fine 4th place finish yesterday. Looks a bit sketchy on the right-hand side, doesn't it? Not so sure that cyclo-tourist. Interesting garb. Maybe the most efficient clothing, and certainly not the most efficient cycling style. And indeed, I'm not sure the bike was going to hold together if they kept going at that kind of rate. Getting warp speed here, aren't we? Inside 5 kilometers to go. The NSN's trying to take command on the right-hand side of the peloton, and everyone getting blown around here. I can tell you the rain has... Is it still raining here at the finish line? It's still absolutely soaking wet. For whatever about the rain, it's absolutely soaking wet at the finish line. So that 500 meters to go, that's a big appointment for the riders at the end of the day. Ends towards the front. Who's coming up the middle through the center of the tuning fork? windy finale. We're looking around, I can tell you we're having all sorts of complications and problems. The PA announcer here is finding his equipment as semi-failed, so radio silence being maintained. More or less a straight run, got a long left-hand curve. It will take the riders to a sort of a narrowing with, into the final couple of kilometers. That'll be with what, 2 and a bit kilometers remaining. Slight narrowing that is noted on the road book, and then under the kite and down to that final 500 meters. Well, actually, we've got a left turn with 1.3 to go, and then the left turn again with 500 meters to go. So a little bit of a narrowing, just over 2k to go. Then we have left turn with 1.3 to go. Positioning going to be absolutely all important. Team Poltivis of Malta in those white jerseys, red shorts, starting to just gravitate towards the front. Tailwind finale is anticipated for these riders. Pretty brisk breeze. Headwind now, as you can see, and they will sort of scoot around the town, and that will take them into what will be a crescendo finale through that final 500 meters. Who's going to launch early and try to hold what they have in that finishing sprint? Jaco Alula is losing riders from that lead out. We're inside 3 to go, so their GC men are relatively safe at this point. Nobody wants to be on the wrong end of a split. Split's easy to happen in a group as well, given how challenging the under-wheel conditions are for the riders. Little Trek trying to control as well. That's their plan. Mosca went sprinting, by the way, in the last couple of days. He was 11th across the line yesterday in the ramp up to the finish line, 15th the previous day. Not normally thought of as an outstanding sprinter, but he's a rider that is given selflessly to the team over many a long year at this time, so no doubt they'll try and give him as much support as possible. Still the grateful assistance, gratefully received indeed, from the rest of the peloton from Team Jaco Alula. 2k to go. This is the narrowing, this is over the bridge, but it's not narrowing really, is it? So it's not proving to be all that significant. Across that bridge might have sensed a slight intensification of the wind, but as I say, pretty much fundamentally a headwind at this point. Arrowhead formation at the front, it's all stretching a bit thin. How do you time your run to the front? See Gaviria moving up, still freelancing for the Caja Rural squad, trying to pick up on the Soudal Quick-Step team. Soudal Quick-Step now in command. Merlier still with that black jacket on, so he's got Van Lerberge just in front of him, and a couple of teammates. It's a long way to that to the finish line from here in relative terms. How many riders are you going to be able to keep available? Well, staying in command through this long tiptoe left-hander. A little bit of a gap opening up at the front. What do? Do you keep riding? Lampard, by the looks of things, is just stomping on the pedals, realizes he's got an advantage. Why not just ride here and make the others chase? And that's the only way to play it. Not necessarily what was planned, but somebody else has to chase now, and that can only mean that it's good news for the Soudal Quick-Step squad. Gaviria dispenses with a beat on as he tries to maintain a position, and Lampard, by the looks of things, it is that has that advantage into the closing moments as we head down under the kite and then head for glory here into Sexard. Stage 3 of the Tour of Hungary coming to a conclusion. They've knit it back together again. Merlier has Van Lerberge in position, down to the left-hander, 500 meters remaining. Who's going to command it? Dive bombing down the inside the NSMs, and it's MVH Bank that will tiptoe through that final bend and lead us up into the straight. 500 meters to go as Merlier has Van Lerberge willing to launch and to control from the front. Gaviria going for a trademark long one. Gaviria's gone and Merlier knows all about it. It's Gaviria that's launched from the line. Well, that is just about as far out as you could possibly contemplate. Merlier is in third position. He's trying to come over counter and get to Gaviria. Gaviria might just hang on here. Will he get to the line? Oh, you know, I think he might do it. No! no! He's pitched on the line as Tim Merlier gets up to deny Fernando Gaviria. And it's another glorious victory for Tim Merlier. But he left it late, didn't he? As Fernando Gaviria went for one of his long-range efforts. Didn't quite pay off, but how close could it have been? Tim Merlier from Fernando Gaviria, with Milano for the UAE squad coming with a run as well at the last moment. Max Canter was overhauled in the final couple of 100 metres, but it's Tim Merlier, 2 days out of 3. Now the man in command of the points jersey. It's underneath that skin-tight jacket, and he's almost apologetic about claiming that one from Fernando Gaviria. Gaviria, I thought, might just hang on with that tailwind finish, and Merlier asked a big question there. Well, exhausting stuff, wet and miserable stuff, but yeah, they build them tough in Flanders, don't they? It's a sense of relief, I think, as much as anything there from Tim Merlier as Samuel Boardman leads this chase group in behind. How many riders have been significantly inconvenienced by that? They're genuine GC contenders in there. Boardman trying to limit his losses here a little bit. Well, mind you, he began the day over 7 minutes back, so I think he's just getting home, getting dry as quick as he can. Chasers in. Tim Merlier already on his way to another victory ceremony. Let's get a look at this again, and a bit of a switch of tactics, wasn't it, from the Soudal Quick-Step squad as they came dive-bombing into this left-hander. Let's get the overhead. It was Team MBH Bank, I think, that controlled through that final bend. Max Canter had a rider on the front. Well, actually, that is Canter, isn't it? Gaviria launches, and that's got to be 450 from the line at this point. Van der Berge, was looking after Tim Merlier, but Merlier trying to latch on to the tail of Max Canter, and then realized, you know what, I'm going to have to do this here. And he had several bike lengths lead here, the Colombian Fernando Gaviria, just about getting there in time. Merlier for Belgium ahead of 2 Colombian riders, with Milano just failing to overhaul Fernando Gaviria. Another top 3 finishing position for Fernando Gaviria this year. The form is there, it's coming. Big result for the Colombian to move back towards the top table of elite sprinting talent in the world of cycling, but half a bike length advantage for Merlier as he flashed through the finishing beam. A tongue-out effort from Juan Sebastian Milano. Looking a bit grubby and gritty and grimy. He's just got so much class, so much speed, so many different ways to do it. Single arm aloft, now trademark victory salute, and Gaviria is able to smile. A warm tribute paid indeed there, I think, by Tim Merlier, and no doubt when we hear from him very shortly, it'll be a similar tribute. County Hall looking good. 19th century creation. Well, Sexard hasn't played host to Tour of Hongrie much lately. 1993, the last, indeed, the second of just 2 appearances in the race in sort of recent memory, a living memory. There's the Abbey ruins just down below. Benedictine Abbey. It's a must visit if you're in this part of the world. To the point that we did visit it a little earlier on today. Went for a little ramble around what is a very engaging, very pretty town centre. It's an excellent little sort of walking tour of the German history. You know, a huge, or at least a significant German population through the centuries. Ruins of former Benedictine Abbey there is in the foreground. That's Sexard, and Merlier, he wants to remember his trip to Sexard. Yeah, look at it again. That was Yves Lampard forcing the other teams to chase. Useful scenario developing for the Soudal Quick-Step squad at this point. Fernando Gaviria just in the pocket at about sort of 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th position. Done a great job, hadn't he? Staying out of trouble, staying in position. Lampard led them down to that 500 to go. Van der Berge finds himself just tiptoeing around the outside. Merlier just on his inside and on his wheel. At this point, Gaviria shot out of the peloton, and Merlier deciding that Max Canter wasn't going to get there. Canter out of gallop. Merlier, like a flash. He only came off his wheel with about 30 metres to go. That's just what the level of snap that's available in the sort of sprint after sprint for riders of this calibre. He literally only came off Gaviria's wheel, having closed the gap with about 30 to go, and it was an extra intensity, wasn't there? It was an extra kick in that moment. Oh, a little shake of the head from Fernando Gaviria. It's coming. The local museum, well worth encountering. 3 top 10s so far this week for Fernando Gaviria. It's his second podium finish of the year. Second place finish indeed, to go with the Ronde van Limburg and Belgian roads. A couple of top 10s in Tour of Turkey last week. 31-year-old. I think he's actually enjoying his time at Cahal Rural. And moved across from Movistar. There's confirmation, though, that he has been vanquished, because Tim Merlier has taken victory on stage 3 from Capochvar to Sexard, ahead of the Colombian duo Fernando Gaviria and Juan Sebastian Molano. Max Canter is on for a top 4 ahead of DeLonghi, Ben Oliver, Buda Zamperini, Einhorn and Davide Persico rounding out the top 10. Plenty of Italians in that lineup as well. A couple of Colombians on the podium. German and New Zealander, but it's Belgium at the top of the pile. And everyone got safely through that bend. There actually weren't too many spills today, despite the treacherous conditions and indeed the sort of lack of grip. I did notice that one little spill for the young rider in the breakaway, Adam Reves, from which he was quickly back on his bike. Did spot another little one, didn't we, at one stage at the back of the main peloton, but hopefully all of those riders, nothing enduring was encountered for them. By them. What a class act Tim Merlier is. What a consistent performer. Gaviria, I think after yesterday's sprint performance, bettering Merlier, although both in turn vanquished by Benoit Cosnefroy from that breakaway, but it will have given him extra heart and motivation and encouragement. Shaking ahead. And you know, Fernando Gaviria made a bit of a name for himself for those long-range final springboard efforts. That one 450 meters from the line. And there have been suggestions that it's just not going to work out. Why do it? But that one was, I mean, amazingly close to being absolutely nailed on perfect. It took sheer class and, you know, one of, if not the best sprinters of his generation, Tim Merlier, to deliver that coup de grace there, because quite clearly Fernando Gaviria would have beaten everyone else in a peloton like that. It's an enhanced advantage in the general classification for Tim Merlier, potentially up into the overall race lead as well. He's taken 10 bonus seconds there. Let's have a look at the results and see if we've got any confirmation of the overall situation. sight of this little tiptoe through the final bend. Pretty much everyone making it through. I haven't got any official results in terms of any change in the overall. Christian Ekholm, I suspect, is going to drop out of the top three. Merlier was 6 seconds behind Kuznetsov starting the day, so he's surely overtaken. Now would be 4 seconds clear heading into the penultimate day of racing action, but for Kuznetsov, as far as we understand, safely negotiating that one. That ought to be confirmed. No doubt about the man that got the win. Tim Merlier. 4 wins from 7 days of racing in 2026. Wolfpack review. Gold star for everyone. Nice lookout point and nice reference as well, of course, to the viticulture, which is such an important part of the economic activity and the reputation of this small region. That's a 72nd pro win, or was it 71st? It depends on whether you count 2.2s or 1.2s, 4th division races as pro wins. The jury seems to be out on that, but certainly he's had loads and loads of UCI successes, and as I say, it's 4th win from 7 days of racing action in 2026 as well, on course to replicate his successes from 2025. Wins last year, including 2 at the Tour de France. Tour de France is on his programme again this year, of course, for Tim Merlier, tuning up nicely for July. Next appointment after this, of course, is Grand Prix Quillion on home roads. Plenty of Belgian racing. He's got Antwerp Port's epic Sells Trophy. Palois Belgium Tour, not a very hilly tour. More opportunities there. Then he's got Tour de France followed by the Renewey Tour. So nice tune-ups in prospect. Look, the engine looks good already, doesn't it? Great image that. Through the spray, through the mist. Huge, large and really engaged crowd. They've been here for ages and getting wetter and wetter and still smiling and enjoying it. And it's been terrific engagement from the local fans for this event. And they've been treated, I think, to a really great showcase of top-class bike racing today. Perfectly to plan. Yves Lampart must accept the thanks and congratulations, I suspect, of his teammates. There's the Benedictine ruins down below in the bottom of our shot there. The church just beside it is the Assumption of Our Lord Church. That Abbey ruins is sort of encapsulated within the square of that. That dates back all the way to 1060, although the other building you're looking at, the main building, is quite a bit newer. Bella the third. To Bella the first and the second. And he is into the overall race lead. This confirmation of the general classification. Swap at the top as Tim Merlier overtakes Benoit Kuznetsov and Sebastian Milano. Vercouy, after his exploits in the breakaway, goes to 4th ahead of Gaviria Reinhard Norsgaard. So Vercouy, I think, is going to be in that Mountains jersey by dint of his position in general classification. I suspect that Eric Vetter may well have got detached. At any rate, that's all relatively academic and sidebar news.
Tim Merlier, congratulations! Yesterday, after the stage, you told me it's time to take revenge, and you bit of that because you won. But how was the whole stage in this weather and obviously the final sprint?
Oh, it was a cold day in the end. nervous bunch also after yesterday. The surprise echelon, let me say. Today, everybody want to be in the front. In the end, was scared. So yeah, it makes it more dangerous and nervous with the rain and the cold. And the sprint himself, yeah, was a bit surprised with the last corner and got video take a good moment. And then I want to accelerate also, but the legs didn't want it anymore with the cold, I think. But in the end, I was lucky I can pass still Gaviria.
Did you expect Fernando to start the sprint early, because usually nowadays he does it? So so was it in the head, or what was the tactic in the final 1-2 kilometers?
Well, we were good in front from 1.5 to go, and then Lampard still got a little gap, so there was a good situation for us. Was up to Trek, I think, who closed it, and then the last corner was just to stay safe, definitely. And but then, yeah, I know Gaviria, he is not scared also to drive from far on, and that he did today. Yeah, I was lucky. I still can't put the pass because it was a really good move, definitely.
Finally, with the weather, with the rain, with the wind, how difficult was to manage the final kilometers, especially the corners, without taking huge risks?
Yeah, we did a good job to take back the breakaway, because it was again quite a good breakaway. 5 guys, I think, with Mollema and Verkouli. So 2 really good guys. And after it was just controlling until the finish, but with a bit of headwind, everybody was able to come to the front. So yeah, we must have the concentration high.
Thank you very much. Congratulations, Tim.
Yeah, concentration was maintained and perfectly executed, and I think he certainly was delighted that the normal pattern was resumed for a sprint stage. And indeed, no surprise that he paid due tribute to that long-range effort from Fernando Gaviria. Not afraid to try. It'll pay off again, you feel. It was, well, there was a bit of a tailwind up the final straight from the 500 metres to go mark. Getting a gap certainly helped. Gaviria recording top result, but you could sense the frustration from a man who has been a serial winner. Indeed, formerly with the same team that Tim Merlier is with now, of course. He's a Wolfpack man back in the day. Close but no cigar, and it's Tim Merlier that has scooped the major honours. He's got a couple of jerseys to collect. He's got the flowers, the glassware, and various other baubles and trinkets that have will be sprinkled his way as a result of his efforts, coming very shortly. Stage honours and a couple of jerseys, and you've got the Mountains and Hungarian, West Hungarian rider jersey as well. So it's the Lampard finding himself out front with a couple of bike lengths, several bike lengths advantage, so why not? Absolutely the thing to do. Make other teams chase. Lidl Trek taking up. Lampard just overhauled, finds himself in front of Van der Bergen. Van der Bergen placing Merlier nicely. There's a whole lot to do, really. He looked for a moment as if he was going to reach out with a long lead out. NSM trying to present their man. By this time, Merlier took his lead. Different class.
Hölgyek és urak, a harmadik szakasz győztese ezen az esős szakaszon a Szudák Quick-Step kerékpárosa, Tim Merlier.
Well, glassware for Tim Merlier. First visit to the Tour de Hongrie is proving a very productive one indeed. He wins from 3.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again, give it up for Team Berlier.
Over 70 career victories.
Well done, team.
Much to reflect on and enjoy, and we'll have another opportunity coming up, if not tomorrow, certainly on the final day of racing action on Sunday. Let's get a look at it again. Top 10. Some very strong sprint talent. Buda, another top 10 finish for him. Reina, 8th after yesterday's 3rd place finish. Sorry, 2nd place finish, wasn't it, yesterday? Yeah. Tour de Hongrie, it's another top 10 finish for him this week. Max Canter's 3rd top 10 out of 3. 3rd, a 4th, and a 7th. Ben Oliver as well, super consistent for the Modern Adventure Pro Cycling rider. 2nd top 10 in succession.
And the leader of the general classification, and wears the yellow jersey, is ready for Suda Quickstep. Team Berlier.
Well, 20 bonus seconds accumulated through the first 3 days of racing action, and Tim Merlier has the overall race there, has the stuffed stork. Will they put that on the front dashboard of the bus tomorrow? We'll have it hanging out of the mirror. Tim Merlier, your yellow jersey, heading into stage 5. Costume change required as we reflect on the overall position. For Benno Koznefol, losing the jersey won't be of any great worry to him. He's effectively the GC leader, at least the leader of the GC Superstars. I expect that tomorrow is a stage for Tim Merlier. Who knows? On this kind of form. Milano too will be on support duty for Benno Koznefol tomorrow, you suspect. Victor Vercouy. Delighted, I suspect, to scoop some bonus seconds and to move up into the top 10. The Mountains jersey as well to wear tomorrow. Another major Mountains title in prospect for the young Belgian rider after his couple of successes. Wonders what plans he'll have, because the major haul of Mountains points will be distributed tomorrow.
Who wears the green jersey? He's riding for Suda Quickstep team, Team Berlier.
It's going to be tough for him to be unseated from top spot in this category. Lead.
Továbbra is jelen áll az összetett pontversenyben, és a zöld trikót viseli a Skoda és
Congratulations, got a 12-point lead in this one. Max Canter is pretty consistent, doesn't he? Is Fernando Gaviria, but Merlier, 3 top 10s, 2 first place finishes. Points make prizes and stage wins make green jerseys.
Congratulations, team. Well done.
Yeah, indeed, 12-point lead for Tim Merlier at the head of the points classification heading into tomorrow's fourth stage. Max Canter, as I say, 3 top 10s for him. Gaviria Milano also super consistent. Benoit Kuznefroy, all eyes on yellow for him. Take home, tough day out. Will he go on the break again tomorrow? Sprint options for him. Reynard Buda, Ben Oliver, DeLonghi, all having featured this week, but fundamentally support acts to enduring star status of Tim Merlier.
Of Cofidis, and Eisenkamper Károly, main organizer of the Tour de Hongrie. And the leader of the mountains classification, who wears the red jersey, is riding for Team Flanders Valois, Victor Vercouly.
Well, Victor Vercouly was so strong, wasn't he, today, with Bauke Mollema, last man standing. And indeed, he was the last man standing from the breakaway group, and he's got himself steps to walk and a red jersey to wear tomorrow. All smiles for the 25-year-old Belgian rider. 23 in actual fact, born in Kortrijk in Flanders.
Once again, give it up for Victor Vercouly.
Another tough day of prospect tomorrow if he's going to defend that red jersey. 2 days, 3 different red jersey wearers. There's a situation locked in combat with Eric Vetter. Vetter looked a little neck weary at the end today. Zamperini, I think, might have an eye on the overall after his fine form yesterday. Pietro Bon also scoring in yesterday's bun fight in the crosswinds. Could well be that the overall mountains title goes to the rider that prevails in the bike race, because the biggest total points on offer this entire week comes at the summit at the conclusion of tomorrow's fourth stage, the only summit finish of the week, into Pech after 188 kilometers, 2.5 kilometer climb to conclude the day after a groupie all day of action. They've got 3 times up the same climb for 2 kilometers, and then they added 400 meters at the top on the last time of asking up to finally visit the finish line, at which time we'll have a good idea who's going to win this race overall. There's the county museum. It's just behind our finish line here. You can see the finish line just on the bottom of your shot on the right hand side.
And the best Hungarian rider in the overall classification, who wears the white jersey, ladies and gentlemen, the Bahrain victorious rider,
Attila Valter, first time on the podium this week, the 2020 winner of this event, the absolute superstar of Hungarian bike racing. Has a jersey to wear tomorrow, has his eye on the overall as well, has protected his situation, so I think you can safely say poor old Eric Vetter was detached and lost out on the white jersey, lost out on the mountains jersey as well after all his efforts. Disappointment for him. Been really strong over the last couple of days, but I'm starting to rise to the top, and Attila Valter, well, he's got an appointment with destiny tomorrow as well. Can he unseat Benoit Kuznefroy, at least record perhaps another podium finish? His trip across to Bahrain victorious, yet to produce dividends, but nonetheless I think he's enjoying the atmosphere at the team, change of team bus, change of team personnel and teammates. That's all about it. Back on home roads, and he's the man they've come to see this week. Still about ahead of Martin Dina. Vetter has slipped to 5th, lost 1 minute and 18 seconds. Probably lost close to a minute and a half actually in that final thrash to the line today. Dropping out of contention for the best Hungarian rider classification. Attila Valter at the top. Although they will introduce the riders as Walter Attila. The given name goes second to the family name. That's the convention here in Hungary, but he himself and indeed the other Hungarian riders will apply the first name for us. I'm going to leave you with these images from another super day of racing on the roads of Hungary. Looking forward now to the GC fight on stage 4. Stage 3 has delivered another great helping of racing action. Glory for Tim Merlier. He's got the overall. Who's going to have that yellow jersey at the conclusion of tomorrow's scrap? My name is Declan Quigley. It's been my great pleasure to introduce these images to you today. I'll be back in harness and behind the mic again tomorrow. Please do join me then. Join us all indeed. And for now, from all of us here in Hungary, it's been